Hello and thank you for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakum. Today on the program, state list enforcement obstacles as Nigerians shun compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols despite threats of going to jail. Panic grips PDP over alleged plan by 4 governors, FFK, to defect to APC. And later in the show, Boko Haram landmines, informants in 13 local government areas threatening military operations in Northeast as Chief of Army Staff promises that Nigeria will partner Cameroon, Chadian soldiers to end insurgency. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamiu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Now, making laws is one thing, enforcing them is a different ballgame. Few weeks after President Muhammadu Buhari signed the COVID-19 Health Protection Regulation 2021 into law, state governments are finding it hard to enforce the regulations, while some state governments list obstacles to enforcing the regulations to include lack of political will and effective policing. Citizens are not complying with safety measures like wearing a face mask and maintaining social distancing despite risk of fine or jail time. But the police have vowed to enforce compliance henceforth. Babajide, this is the law President Muhammadu Buhari passed just 2 weeks ago, and some states are finding it hard to domesticate it, and some states are having even problem in enforcing it.
I think every state will have issues with enforcing the regulations. It's a lot difficult in our country to enforce our laws. I remember the former governor of Lagos State, when it was suggested to him that he should come up with an outright ban on motorcycles, operation of commercial motorcycles in Lagos. He said to come up with that law is not the problem, but that his main concern is the enforcement. And that's why you see that Lagos has carefully designated no-go areas to commercial motorcyclists and tricycle riders, because to enforce it,
A wholesale ban.
yes, to do a wholesale ban on their activities in a state like Lagos will be very difficult. Will be very difficult. How many policemen do you have in Lagos to enforce it? Despite the fact that it's just a few local governments that the activities have been banned, you still find these recalcitrant motorcyclists sometimes crossing the expressway. The Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, for example, they cross it. They will lift their bike over the median and then ride across, even with vehicles coming in opposite direction. They are convinced that they will wait for them, that those vehicles will have to apply the brakes, that they will not want to kill them. But we've seen people die in that. In such circumstances, we've seen even their passengers too, because some passengers too are just as terrible as the riders, because they see that this is a big risk, yet they will rather want that risk to be taken. So it's the same thing with the enforcement of the regulations that the president came up with. Nigerians know that once they contravene Section 5 of the Quarantine Act, is either 6 months or fine or both. The magistrate reserves the right to apply both sanctions. But people are not thinking of the fact that they can go to jail. They would rather not enforce these protocols. And it's so clear what this whole idea is about. If you are the head of your church You are the general overseer or shepherd of your church. You must take responsibility. People must wear a face mask. People must sanitize their hands before going into the church. In some places, those safety protocols are not provided. So the law prescribes that the person,
The head of that church.
yes, who is the head of the church, must take responsibility. So it's that person that will be put on trial. You can't put everyone. You go into a church, maybe about 100 of them are not wearing a mask. Our prisons will soon be busting at the seams. How many people are we going to lock up? So, but our people need to realize that these things are meant to protect them. It's better to be safe than to be sorry.
But when you go to states like Lagos and Abuja, you will still see semblance of people that are trying to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols and everything. But once you move outside maybe Lagos, once you go to some states, somebody told me about his experience in Bayelsa, that he went to a viewing center, and when he got inside the viewing center, it was wearing a face mask, and it was as if he was the odd man out there. They were looking at him ridiculously, like, look, there's no such thing like coronavirus. That's at in Ogbia, Otueke, this weekend.
Bayelsa is far. As close as Ogun State is, the state PPRO, police public relations officer, was quoted to have said that they have not been able to arrest anybody because they have not found anybody that is not using face mask. That's in Ogun State. But if you go to a place like Oyo, Oshun, Ekiti, I mean, it's like life is normal. I mean, especially when you go to the markets, or I mean, a place like Bere in Ibadan or Oje, all those popular markets, life is going on as if there is no traces of COVID. Even in some markets in Lagos, if you go to Okeari, if you see the crowd, there is no way you can maintain social distance in such places. But I think government is conscious of the fact that we need, I mean when the chips are down, I mean, it is the individual, then the pressure is also on government. Like now, and as at last week, they are using about 400 cylinders of oxygen per day at the isolation centers, with Yaba being the highest. Now, why it is difficult to actually enforce these social distancing rules or the Quarantine Act is the fact that for a state like Cross River, the Commissioner of Health was saying that they spend about 300 million monthly to maintain the task force. I mean, that's about 10 million naira daily in terms of payment. I mean, paying the personnel of the task force, those who are monitoring, those who are on patrol, and that's almost the same with all the states. And I know that Lagos will be more. So they don't really have enough personnel to enforce compliance. But I think the onus is on Nigerians to know that now that the curve is flattening a bit because we are having reduced cases, this is not the time for us to lose our guards. I think the best government can still do in a place as populated as Lagos is to ensure that those event centers remain locked. I mean, the churches, the mosques, the places of worship, they insist on not a gathering of not more than 50 people, and probably continue the enlightenment both on radio, television, even town criers for markets and some rural areas. I mean, we continue to do that to let people know that now there are even variants of this of COVID-19. I think as at this morning, I said there are about 17. This one is even more deadlier. It goes for your oxygen. It attacks your breath. It goes. I mean, and it's so dramatic that before you know it, I mean, the management of the disease is different from what it used to be. So people should take cognizance of that fact that, I mean, this thing is still very much with us, and that we need to continue to wear our face masks and maintain social distancing and keep ourselves very clean, not for our own sake, but for the sake of others.
But actually, when you want to look at it and the costs at the end of the day, the visuals, the reports Dr. Salam went to go and do at IDH, it took that report for some people to start having a kind of rethink. And when you see the alarming rates at which people consume oxygen, and when you see people gasping for air, and still, people will still tell you that this is malaria fever.
And because a lot of our people are what I would call the biblical Nicodemuses. They do not want to believe anything until they are struck by it. So the Nicodemuses are all over the place, and it's unfortunate. But look at someone struggling to breathe. You can see that he was in serious agony. You know, that's what we're talking about. Oxygen cylinders don't come cheap. And if people are consuming about 800 cylinders of oxygen, that's to tell you the extent of the problem. But you see, government must enforce its laws. I was reading about Kano coming up with the idea of COVID marshals, who are going to be going around ensuring that COVID-19 protocols, safety protocols are adhered with. And they've arrested 200 of them, in Abuja, of course, the task force there, they've been arresting people. The last
closing markets.
The last I heard about them was that they arrested 43 more persons. They put so many people on trial in Abuja there, and it's instant justice because there's a mobile court.
Yes.
So government must just continue to play its part, to do its best to keep Nigerians safe. I've been talking about vaccines. Yes, we are waiting anxiously for those vaccines to come in. But those who deliberately refuse to obey the government's instructions, directives, have to pay for it. Event centers are a no-no at this time. And if we say churches or mosques should have 50% capacity, it must be enforced. If the church leaders or the imams will deliberately flout such directive, then they should be arrested. Nobody is bigger than the law.
Even for our own safety.
Nobody is bigger than the law. Even in the Middle East, where these religions originated for, people do not violate the law the way they like. You can't try it. If they say, no, we are in Saudi Arabia today, we are not going to have Jummah prayers, you dare not try to go. You'll be arrested and you'll pay. So this is the thing. Laws are supposed to be obeyed. We must not get to that point where in our country, people feel that they are bigger than the law and that whatever they do, they will get away with it. They will be able to bribe police, that some people will make phone calls and order the police to release them. We cannot build a decent society when people are allowed to simply flout government directives, to simply trample on the laws of our nation. That has to stop.
MJ, from the figures released by NCDC on a daily basis, and I think we've crossed the Rubicon of 140,000.
Yeah, I think we're on 143,000 now, with 51,000 cases in Lagos, followed by 17,000 in FCT, and Plateau 8,000, and Oyo 5,000 in that order. But then, like I said earlier, it's like the curve is flattening now because people are getting more conscious, but it is not enough yet. And I think the federal government should look at those who are coming into the country. Canada and the U.S. just introduced some new measures now, which I think the federal government can also look into. If you really know you want to travel and you want to come back, then you should be ready to pay. In Canada now, you need to pay $2,000 when you are entering Canada.
Wow.
For you, I mean, that will take care of your hotel bill. They will quarantine you automatically. Because before, they will allow you to go to somewhere to quarantine, but now they discover that people are not actually doing that. So now you pay $2,000 when you get to the airport, and they will take you to an hotel straight, and the government will feed you there
A designated
hotel where you will be for 14 days, and they will now come and test you before they will allow you to come to town.
That's what they do in Rwanda too.
And in
It's only
Rwanda,
their vehicles that can carry you.
That
it's
is
only
it.
their drivers that can carry
Yes,
you.
so-
And those ones, they subject them to routine tests.
Like a hostage situation.
No,
you see-
they sit in your country now.
Yes, now stay in your country.
Don't come and
Yes.
infect people in another country. That's what they are doing.
So-
you see, like you were saying, those Rwandans initially made things easy for people.
So the thing
but
was going
the
up, the rates were
infections
again
are
going
going
up.
up. So they now said, okay, you are coming into our country, you will be picked up. You will do a test right there as you are landing.
Yeah.
Within the 48 hours that within the 24 hours that the result
Your
of
result will
that test
come
will
out,
come,
yeah.
you can't go anywhere. They keep you in a designated hotel. Now, once your test is ready, your result is ready, and you are negative, okay, you are going to their tourist sites. They will provide a vehicle
Yeah.
that will convey you. Only designated tourist sites, not everywhere that people can
Yeah.
go. Because those ones too, they will subject the staff there to tests. So then their drivers will come, put you in their vehicles. That's the way it is. Not that you go wherever you like, because it defeats the essence of it. If, okay, they do a test for you now and you are positive, and you go to places where you are likely to get infected. From there, if they don't monitor you, you will also in turn go and infect other people.
Spreading the thing.
So that's it. Government has to put his foot down and enforce these things. We are not saying don't let people come into Nigeria. Let the airlines make their money, but let the laws, the regulations be strictly adhered to. That's what every country is doing.
Okay. It's about 2 years to the 2023 presidential election, but the defection wind is already blowing in the air. A meeting of party faithful that's between a former minister of aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, and caretaker chairman of the All Progressive Congress APC, Mai Malabuni, and Governor Yaya Bello of Kogi State is causing ripples in the political terrain. Panic has also gripped the main opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, over rumored talks between the APC and 4 PDP governors to have them defect to the ruling party. The days ahead will surely be interesting. Mujid, when I saw the pictures yesterday, I was like, wow. What do you make of this?
Femi Fani-Kayode, I don't know what value is bringing to APC. He's from Osun State, and in his ward, can he even win an election there? And this is somebody who said on October 21st, 2018, that he would rather die than join APC. I have a lot of quotes from him now disparaging the ruling party. So, and it's the same ruling party that he wants to come and join. And he said this of Yaya Bello, sometimes around 2018 when Atiku emerged as the presidential candidate of the ruling of the opposition party, PDP, said he doubts the ability of Atiku, of his political experience, to win a presidential election. And Femi Fani-Kayode replied Yaya Bello, saying that he's a cheeky little infant and an obnoxious pubescent. I mean, calling him all sorts of names. And he has disparaged the person and the office of the vice president several times, calling him several names, and even attacking the president, Muhammadu Buhari. I mean, calling him all manner of names. So I don't know the value is bringing to APC. And I'm yet to be convinced that we have some PDP governors. Of course, some PDP members are not happy with the way Wike and the marriage between Wike and the Tambuwa. They said they have the packing in their pockets. Some people are not happy. But I doubt if it is FFK that would bring some four PDP governors into APC, especially given the fact that he has little or no political base himself. I mean, FFK, apart from just talking and his social media tweets. So even me, as a journalist, I doubt if he can stand me in an election if I join politics.
Jide, what do you make of this? APC, in their bid to consolidate, in their bid to actually rearrange brighten the chances ahead of 2023, they've been hobnobbing with some politicians from other political parties. And for us to see FFK yesterday with May Balam Buni means something. It can't just be whipped aside.
Well, I'm not so concerned about FFK. FFK may not even be directly involved in the plan to have some PDP governors cross to the party, APC. But I know that Governor May Malabuni is committed to bring as many PDP stalwarts as possible to the APC. He's extremely committed to that. And if you see what he's been doing since he became the caretaker chairman, he's been trying his best to bring people into the fold of APC. Kwanika Ode does not have electoral value. If some people go for him and try to bring him into the APC, it is not for his electoral value. It will be for his nuisance value. Because they know that they can use him to attack other people, you know, and make life uneasy for some people. So it's not everybody in a political party that is ready to stand for election or that will be able to stand for election. Not all of us. If a political party would have so many members, not everyone will stand for an election. I'm not saying that he's coming into APC. I've not seen the evidence yet. But there are rumors that even his trips across the country, that some of those governors that he's been meeting are the governors that are likely to cross to the APC in the final analysis. And there are some governors from PDP who have a history of saying positive things about the APC. You know, one of them has eventually ended up in APC now. And it was speculated then, some people, he was even, that governor shut it down. He said, no, it's a lie. But today it's in the APC already. So I won't bet on any politician crossing to the APC because the ruling party, they have resources, they have power, they have what they can promise to give you that will make some of them want to come and join the APC. So, and I know that May Malabune is really working on it. Maybe the PDP members should beg May Malabune to leave their people alone.
Okay. We take this break. When we come back, Kola Ologbondiyan from the People's Democratic Party will be joining us. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's still Journalist Hangouts, and joining us is the spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Kola Ologbondiyan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ayo.
What is happening in your party, Kola? This speculation, first of all, let's start with the Ebonyi State governor, a sitting governor voted for on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, now, defecting to the All Progressive Congress.
Well, before I go into the issue of Ebonyi governor, let me clearly state here that there is no panic of any sort in the People's Democratic Party in respect of alleged 4 governors decamping from our party. I want to make that very, very clear. And I also want my brother and friend seated by you there, Babajide Otitoju, to know that the People's Democratic Party will have no reason, in whatever shape or forms, to beg Mala Buni not to take our governors. None of the People's Democratic governors is going anywhere. I want to lay that straight first.
Okay.
Having said that, I also want you to know that the governor of Ebonyi State, Governor Umahi, left the party on his own accord, not pushed or prompted by anybody. He chose to leave for his personal reasons, and he left. And I understood what Mojid said, that politics is about interest and your capacity. So I want to make it abundantly clear here that in the People's Democratic Party, we have no worries, we have no fears of any 4 governors going anywhere.
We saw the meeting of Mr. Femi Fani-Kayode with Malam Buni and the governor of Kogi State yesterday. Did you see that picture?
Yes, I saw the picture on the social media.
So what do you make of it?
What will I make of it outside what FFK has said? That he's fighting for the interest of Nigeria, particularly its unity and our living together.
FFK is a member of the People's Democratic Party.
So you shouldn't have friends across party.
You know, let's put it this way, because since you are speaking, answering our questions like a politician and not a journalist.
Not a journalist.
See, we saw this same man, Malam Buni, who has become dangerous to your party. We saw Governor Malam Buni take Yakubu Dogara to Mr. President. The next thing we heard that Yakubu Dogara joined the APC.
APC, yeah.
So isn't the fact of FFK visiting the Kogi governor symptomatic of what is to come? Does it not send clear signs to you about what is on the way?
And sorry, if I may add, if I may add, Kola, I mean, are you saying that FFK has no political value, that you won't be missing him if he eventually leaves the PDP and defects back to the APC?
Okay, Mojid, let me take Babajide first. Babajide, the preamble of your assertion was that Malam Buni took Honorable Dogara to Buhari, President Muhammadu Buhari, and he decamped. If I follow the logic from your base, has FFK been taken to President Muhammadu Buhari? The answer is no. So there's no need for panic. There's nothing to worry about. And now going to you, Mojid. My assertion said never bothered on values. I rested my case, my argument on the fact that we have nothing to panic about in the People's Democratic Party. We have no reason to beg Malam Buni not to take our members. And I want us to leave the discussion at that level so far.
Are you also not aware that a number of your National Assembly members too are joining the APC? Are you unaware of that?
Babajide, when the PDP in 2019 wanted to take members out of APC, it was not predicated on speculations or innuendos. We went for them and we picked them, not one, not in sequence, not begging, not buying, not purchasing. We gave them constructive arguments and dispositions in the interest of our nation on the need for them to team up with compatriots and rescue our nation from misrule. They bought into the argument and they joined us. There is no need talking about, oh, there are some members of National Assembly that are coming tomorrow. Oh, there are some 10, initially there are some 10 governors that will leave PDP. Now, it's 4 governors that will leave PDP. The People's Democratic Party is a structured institution that does not panic on the basis of emails or dogmas. So you don't expect us to be going to lose sleep because they said that, oh, 4 governors are going to leave. Oh. We have challenged the APC since yesterday. Name one, just one, out of these your 4. Capacity has failed them. Are Nigerians interested in the ongoing registration and re-registration and revalidation that's happening across the street? Even in-house, there's infighting. People are being killed. People are going to the hospitals. Is that what you want people to go and team up with? But let us talk something else about our nation.
And the thing is, what is the future of the PDP like? Even here in the Southwest, you can't seem to organize yourselves. The governor of Oyo State is at daggers drawn with the former governor of Ekiti. Every time, you always quarrel with one another and snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. When will the PDP grow up and stop having this kind of crisis that makes it so easy for the APC to win elections?
Babajide, as you know, politics is about contestation for power. There is no way you can reduce contestation for power, except we are in another business or we are in another game that is different from politics. The moment it is about politics, it's about contestation for power. So what the National Working Committee of our party is doing is to see how we can reduce these contestations, particularly the infighting that accompanies to its base, and to ensure that people come together, not just in their personal interest, but in collective interest of our nation. That's what we are working on. But to say that whether people will not have contestations for power, it will be difficult in any political environment. But what we find strange among our neighbors is the violence that accompanies their contestations. You hardly find that in our party.
Do you have individuals that have hijacked the People's Democratic Party?
No, individuals hijacking the People's Democratic Party. There's nothing like that. Ayo, what you are talking about does not exist in the People's Democratic Party. The People's Democratic Party came into existence in 1998. It is the only political party post-independence that has been structured and lived longer. It is owned by Nigerians. So people who are talking about hijack are just making vague arguments that don't exist anywhere. Our party is the only party that you can find in governance across the 6 geopolitical zones of our nation. That shows our spread. And it shows that Nigerians are with us.
Kola, would you say...
So there's no need for talking about 1 or 2 persons hijacking our party.
Would you say all is well with the chairman of the party? We have not really heard much from Secondus in a while. And would you say, I mean, is major financier or the governor of Rivers, Governor Wike himself and secondaries, because I learned that, I mean, it's like there's a rift between Wike and the chairman of the party now. So, I mean, what do you say to that?
Well, most of these things that you are saying, they are strange to us. We only read them on the pages of newspapers, in the social media, or in engagements like this on television. In the party, we can't find them. Governor Nyesom Wike is very supportive of our political party. Nobody takes that away.
Okay.
And
okay,
the
Kola,
national chairman is carrying out his responsibility in the office to the best of his ability.
Kola.
So you can't be outside of our party and now begin to make assumptions over what does not exist.
Kola, as a journalist,
Yes,
I'm asking you now. I'm from Ekiti State. I'm in Ekiti today, we have three factions
of the
People's Democratic Party. There is Olujimi faction, there is the Fauci faction, and there is also the former governor, Chegoni, who is aspiring to occupy that position. So who is in charge in Ekiti PDP today?
As far as I understand the workings of the party, we have a Congress in Ekiti State.
Okay.
And Bisi Kolawole is the chairman of our party in Ekiti. We have areas of contestation, but we do not have a faction, or we do not have a factionalized political party in Ekiti State. We have contestation for control of the soul of the party. That is different and is completely at variance with talking about factions. So Bisi Kolawole is the chairman of our party in Ekiti State. Thank you, Mojit.
Kola,
you are blowing grammar to us. And refusing to answer questions. Okay.
It's dribbling us.
You are blowing journalistic grammar.
2023 is very close. So,
You are blowing journalistic grammar to us.
you are doing well.
Okay.
Thank you, Kola. Now, enemies within and without seems to be hampering Nigeria's quest to end Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast. Security sources have raised concerns over indiscriminate planting of landmines and activities of informants of Boko Haram in some local government areas in the northeast. The informants leak vital information to terrorists and harbor them in their houses, while also assisting them in planting landmines against Nigerian troops during operations in some parts of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. But respite may be on the way as the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Atahiru, promises that Nigeria will partner Cameroonian and Chadian soldiers to end insurgency. Babajide, let us into this. Activities of fifth columnist.
Well, it's always been there within the army. There are saboteurs. There are people who give information to the enemy. And we can't discountenance the presence also of civilians who give information about a troops movement to the insurgents. The truth is, the army must continue to engage communities in which they operate so that they can earn the trust of the people. Once they earn the trust of the people, a lot of vital intelligence will be provided. Don't also forget that the Shekau faction of Boko Haram that carried out the Zabamari killings claimed that it did that because the farmers were giving information to soldiers. That's why it slaughtered them. So, and we have seen even an DSS operative from Gombe State slaughtered by Boko Haram because she was accused of spying for the Nigerian army. So, I've seen this story a lot of the places where they said these things are happening. Guzamala, Abadam, Marte, Kukawa, Moba, Monguno, and Goza in Borno State. you see that these are the areas that are really not safe in that state. And in some of these areas, like Guzamala, there is even no military presence. I repeat, there is no military presence in Guzamala, you know. So then coming to Adama, we're talking about Mumbi, Madagali, and Gombe. These are areas where Boko Haram also has presence. Election didn't take place in the Madagali area in 2019 because it was not safe to do elections there. So you will find that where Boko Haram has some presence, the interface with the local community will be greater. There will be people who go to buy things for them in the market, people sell cigarettes to them. So somehow, some of these people get bribed and they will provide information. So the army must constantly continue to engage the people. There are some projects, for example, that the armed forces do, like treating people, medical outreach and all that. Some of those things will help the people to get closer to the army, and then treating the civil populace with dignity. Because people are hostile sometimes to the army because they believe they are high-handed, they beat people. Look at that soldier who was cutting someone's hair in Oyo State. Is it your business what kind of hairdo a man goes around with? Is that the job of a soldier? So some of these things damage the reputation of the army. Yes, you violate people's rights. It can come back to haunt them. So I can feel the determination of the current leadership, and you can see that there have been a lot of confrontation between Boko Haram and the army in the last 2 weeks because they are determined to end this war. I'm particularly delighted to hear from the Chief of Army Staff that they are ready to work with the soldiers from Chad, from Cameroon.
Battle-tested
You see,
soldiers.
yes, in Niger Republic, because we share borders with them more than any other neighbor of Nigeria, we need to partner more with them. Boko Haram continues to come in from Yobe, Babangida, the whole of that Yunusari local government. Boko Haram has tremendous presence in those areas. And it is because they go into Niger Republic, they come in freely. We have to work with the army of Niger Republic to block that Gaydam area, because constantly the attacks on Yobe are coming from there. Sometimes they come in from there into Borno State. So we need to continue to work with our neighbors. This is not a war that we can win alone. If we get our neighbors to assist us, then Boko Haram's days are numbered. It's impossible for an insurgent group to defeat 3 countries. That's why we must work together. We must work together. If they need to come into Nigeria to help us, like it happened in 2015, why not? We seem to have forgotten that in 2015, Chadian troops came into Nigeria and they posted them to some parts of Borno North. And they did a tremendous job. Yes, inside Nigeria, Dikwa, some of those local governments. And they captured those local governments. But when people are talking now, they give the impression that all of them happened in 2015. Whereas all you need to do, just Google, when did Nigerian army recapture Goza? You will see the date. When did Nigerian troops recapture Mafa? You will see the date. It's so easy. You will know that it wasn't in 2015 that those communities were captured by Nigerian troops. When did Nigerian troops capture 7 local governments in Adamawa State? You see. 2015. Early 2015.
MJ, what can we do about the activities of 5th columnists as described, that some of them might have infiltrated our intelligence system?
You know, I've always said that I'm not particularly happy with the amnesty for the repentant Boko Haram insurgents. Some of them, having tasted blood, it's really difficult for them to let go. No matter the level of amnesty you give to them, they still go back to their vomit. So some of them come under the pretext of amnesty by surrendering some weapons, and they come back into the community mingle with people, even recruit more people and go back to them. But I'm happy, like Jide said earlier, that we should not foreclose discussions with Chadian and Niger Republic troops. They are better placed in terms of this kind of battles. I mean, they have been fighting this kind of battles for long. I mean, this thing is just about...
This is the Chief of Army Staff now
saying it.
So,
even if we need to talk to American troops, I mean, so that they can come in with their drones and their intelligence, because beyond strategy, we need more of logistics to actually defeat these people. An elderly person once told me that it's amateurs that discuss strategy all the time. That professionals, real professionals, talk logistics, because you need logistics to build on whatever strategy you want to deploy. And that's why, I mean, we have gone beyond the level of strategy now, logistics, and they should keep some of these things more to themselves and come with us as a surprise. So that, because the moment you say you are talking to Chadian and the Niger Republic government to bring in their troops to come and fight, those guys...
That's why they're even running away.
Those guys will run away. So let them keep these things. They discuss it at a very highly technical level and just give us the results. Like the way the Chadian troops came and overwhelmed the Boko Haram insurgents the other time, and even our Nigerian soldiers were clapping for them. So we need that kind of morale booster. Bring in these Chadian troops, the Niger Republic troops. They are seasoned. I mean, they are well trained to fight this kind of. I'm not condemning our own troops. They are doing a good job, but they need that morale booster from those Chadian and Niger Republic troops. If we need to go to other places to involve six, I think nothing stops us. As long as
the Chief of Army Staff is talking about, partnering with this Cameroonian and Chadian soldiers, what's about the joint multinational task force?
You see, the multinational joint task force has always been there, but
Comatose?
It's there, and it's under the leadership of a Nigerian general, because the agreement was that it would be commanded by a Nigerian general, but the headquarters is in N'Djamena, in Chad. But there is a limit to which they can advance into your territory. For me, that limit there has to be some conversation, around removing that limit.
Oh, this joint multi.
Yes, there is a limit. That was why. You see, even when Boko Haram fighters, when they fled, at a point the Chadians had to stop, and their president said, "Okay, we'll stop here." But these weapons that we have seized, do not hand it to anyone unless to Nigerian troops, So the truth is, before the election, we brought the Chadians, that restriction, yes, we moved beyond the stipulation in the MNJTF arrangement. So they were able to conquer some local governments for us and all that. Yes, we did not. They even suggested that we should let them help us take Goza, but we said no. Under the leadership of General Adeosun, our troops did the job in Goza. So, but at this time, there are times when you are chasing them, and they know it, that once they get to a certain point, the people chasing them will stop. You can imagine if they come into Chad to do work, and you are chasing them, as soon as they enter Nigeria, you cannot move further. It affects the war. That's why we have to come to. We can even have joint operations with them, as we have had with Cameroon in the Bama area in the past. Let's have joint operation. Why not? This enemy is the enemy of everybody, right up to even Equatorial Guinea. If we are not careful, or Central African Republic, if we allow them to continue to grow, there will be a threat not just to these three countries around us, but even beyond. So this is my own feeling.
All right.
And I want to say congratulations to Brigadier General Yerima, the new spokesman of the Nigerian Army.
Okay.
The Nigerian journalists are always there to help. We do not hate the army. We are ready for constructive engagement. in the interest of our nation. So congratulations, General Yerima.
We also want to give a shout out to Dr. Kaide Kaye, who's 56 today. I call him Doc, the chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum. MJ.
Yeah, congrats to Dr. Kaide Fahimi. He's doing well in Ekiti, and also is leading the Governors Forum very well.
Congrats. Congrats. The military strategist. May God spare your life and for us to see you a while longer.
All right. And you should not forget to send our birthday.
Since we can't join him,
yeah,
we can send it by multimedia to get to us.
MJ, thank you so much for your contribution.
Yeah, thanks,
and the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade Ositaji. Thank you for always being there. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch us tomorrow by the same time, and we also have our repeat broadcast tonight by 11 o'clock. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Zubaku.